win a brand new 2025 Isuzu D-Max pickup. Here's how it works. Purchase a high road. Check under the crown for the letters H-E-R-O. Collect all 4 letters. Place them in an envelope with the name, address, contact number, and the name of our first national hero. And enter to win. Easy to the max. Heroes celebrate. Raise your high road. Feel the pride. And spell your way to victory. Be a hero. Drink high road. Like a hero through SVG Street. Hold your own. 40 years and counting. WEFM is SVG.
WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
Good morning once again to our listeners here on WEFM, the Clean Fresh Sound, Activated Mornings. At this time, we are going to be conducting an interview with Mr. Kelvin Pompey, the comptroller at the Inland Revenue Department. And of course, we'll be speaking on the recently launched e-tax filing system. So I believe this is something that we all ought to be very tuned into. Remember that at some point, if you have any questions for us or for him and you have any comments, you can call us 457-9997. That's WhatsApp. That's our landline number as well. And you can even send us a message on WhatsApp. So, Mr. Pompey, good morning to you. Welcome. I don't know if you've been here before.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Dianna. Good morning, Roleza. Good morning to the listening public. It's not my first time on WEFM. I've been here before, and I look forward to the opportunity to share and to discuss that very exciting and sexy topic.
Very excited. Look at the excitement on my face.
of taxation. And no matter what or how we feel about taxation, it is something that is necessary and critical, and it affects all of us from birth to death.
That's what it says. 2 things in life is sure is death and taxes.
Yes, and taxes. I think here to get the message out.
Okay. Come forward just a bit.
All right. So I recently read in the news that this new system, this new e-tax filing system was launched last Friday. It was launched?
Yes.
Right. All right. So could you tell us a little bit more about this
the
system?
Our new e-tax system or platform really is one of the products essentially that we have in our ongoing reform. Digitalization, as you would know, which is basically using technology, computer software, to make taxation less taxing, as we say. Now, last year, I think we started last year before, you can now use debit and credit cards at the department. That was part of our digital reform. Last year also, we started on our e-refund payment. That is, payments were sent directly to person's bank accounts. And as simple as that sounds, that was a very significant step in terms of our overall reform and digitalization, using technology to make the work more efficient and to make taxation less taxing. Because prior to last year, somebody who was getting a refund, we would have had to, at the department, print a 2-page legal size paper.
I know.
Fold it, put it in an envelope, and then it would have been put in batches, dispatched to the post offices. Then you would have to go to your post office, go to your post box, get this document, take it to the treasury, stand in line. And of course, you can see where I'm going with this in terms of how time-consuming it was just for you to get your refund. And this would have been particularly taxing on persons, from the Grenadines and also from the northern western part of our country, that they would have to come down for the $80 or $100 or $5,000, because people do get large refunds. So what we did, we used digital technology. We wrote our program. The IT guys did their job, and of course then we developed a system where you file the return. Of course it was manual last year, but then your refund was automatically processed and through to the treasury who on send it to your bank account. And by just doing that alone, would have significantly improved the efficiency of the system and of course the time spent by persons trying to get their refund and trying to get it cash. That's what we mean by digital transformation. So it's not a theoretical or abstract concept. It is something that is real. It is using technology to make taxpayers be more easily able to do their tax.
And not thinking of going to inland revenue as something draining. Because I think that's also one of the things too, right?
but of course, because we when you come to basically pay taxes or to comply with your tax obligation, you should not have to be standing in line for 15 minutes, half an hour, an hour. I'm going to admit it because the lines are long, especially we handle motor vehicle, we handle the drivers, and of course all the different tax types. And close to end of month, the 15th and so forth, they are very long lines. And I think we have a responsibility at Inland Revenue to identify relevant technology that can aid in making taxpayers' life easier. Because they are paying us money, and I think we have a responsibility to identify the best tools and technologies essentially that can do that. And so hence our e-tax services, which we have just launched, which means that this year we are now going to have you file in your returns electronically. Again, what that entails, it means that you no longer have to come get a physical return and go through the necessary of writing on it because we have all been there. You make a mistake, you have to scratch out, or you have to come and get another form, and all those kind of things.
Does it come with a tutorial though? Because I will be very honest. I will be extremely honest that I have never done my tax returns myself. I always give it to somebody to do. Right? So yeah, does it come with a tutorial?
Yes, it does.
All right.
Yes, it does. Our tech people, we have come up with, I think, very simple and easy to understand and follow guides in terms of how you go about using the e-filing platform. So what we launched was 3 components, or 3 products under the current phase. Was an e-filing system, e-payment system, and a website. So you file your return electronically, as I was saying, in the comfort of your home. You don't have to essentially worry about, I have to run down to income tax to pick up the form and things like that. And also you can now make payments online. That is, you file your return and there's a balance outstanding. Essentially, you can make the payment rather than having to come in. And of course, our website, which now gives you all of the information that you need in terms of complying. So if we go from the digital transformation from last year to this year, what we essentially now have is we are at a position where a taxpayer can sit in the comfort of their home, file their return electronically, and the money is then sent essentially to the treasury into their bank account. So you file, you get your refund, and then you use your debit and credit card to do whatever you want with it. Of course, you will share your shop wherever you want.
Not you saying share.
The new Amazon is
Yes, it is.
So what we have been doing is essentially to roll out these different products. And of course, I think, as I said before, given the nature of what we do, given the fact that we have long lines and that we want to encourage voluntary compliance, we do have a responsibility to make sure that, look, let's see what is out there, what tools are out there that can allow taxpayers to interface and interact with the department much easier. But where we are is a journey in terms of our digital transformation, because you would have heard in the wider government public service over the past, I think, year and a half, 2 years, in terms of digital transformation. And so far, we know the customs and excise there, the SWIFT virtuous single window where you can file all trade-related documents in one single source. We have the civil registry also would have gone on in terms of you can now register companies and businesses online. And so Inland Revenue Department is now joining in terms of that overall transformation. And the objective is to look at all government departments, ministries, statutory bodies, and to see how we can use technology to enable and to make the job much easier, more efficient, and of course, easier on the taxpaying public and the general public at large.
All right, curious question. So I know with BOSBJ, I'm not sure about other banks, you have to give, I think, authorization for them to be added to your account for persons to make payments to. How does that, is it the same way for inland revenue? How does that work?
Well, the government has a GovPay, which is a payment infrastructure that's developed for all government agencies, departments, and ministries. And so our e-payment system essentially would interact with that.
Okay.
In terms of the payments, it will go through to the bank and the treasury, and so would be involved.
Well, I'm more talking about me paying you as opposed to me getting money from you.
Right.
So how would it be added to for me to make a payment to you? It's the same thing?
Yeah, once you have an account, once you have gone through and you have filed a return, you have basically registered on our online platform. The payment platform is also there.
Okay.
Where you just go in and you put in the card numbers and everything like that. And essentially, very, very easy. So I have the videos.
I need to go fiddle on your website. I need to go. All right. Okay.
What's the website, though? I don't think we mentioned what the website is.
Well, www.etax.gov.vc would essentially take you to the main website.
Okay, and if we Google Inland Revenue Department, the website will come up and that information will be there as well. Okay.
We also have QR codes going on. You just
makes it a lot easier to scan it. Come, whoever on the line, come scan one side, scan.
And it takes you straight to the platform. We have tried our best to make it simple and easier.
Okay.
And I think the general the comments and so far have been quite favorable, and we have had quite a number of persons already registered and filed. Well, we have said this year that we are not taking any manual physical returns.
Oh wow!
Even though there were a few that went out early, but to a large extent we are saying no manual returns. But at this point, for employees, I must add, because at this point the system is not designed yet or configured yet for persons with business income or for companies. So if you operate a business, you still would have to file your financial statements and things like that, which the platform is not designed to accommodate at this point in time. So while we are here in terms of the digital transformation, it is also March, and we know March is also the deadline for payment of taxes. And of course, our employees are now in a position where they can make their taxes less taxing in terms of their ability to comply. When we say digital transformation, again, in terms of technology, we have to look at what are some of the benefits or the gains. And I'm confident that one of you have been to income tax, I would hope, to pay something. If not, I encourage you to do so. And of course, you'll see that you have to stand in line, and lines are long, and lines move slowly. We handle licensing also at Inland Revenue, and currently we have about 36,000 motor vehicles registered, and somewhere close to 34,000 drivers. And of course, these persons, they all have to pay and come in line. Some are in the Grenadines and so on, some pay in the out district, but the majority of persons will still come and line up at the department. And on average, I would say it takes about 15 minutes to get a transaction done in terms of moving in line. So you would appreciate that the number of persons we have, and the VAT and the PAYE and the other license, when you add all that together, that person spend a huge amount of time standing in line at Inland Revenue. We have basically declared a war on line. That's why we have been saying, ditch the line, click online. That's our tagline.
Okay.
From inline to online.
Right.
And so as we roll out these products, we are going to see less and less persons come into the department to stand in line. Because when you stand in line, it's an unproductive activity. There's no getting away from it.
And I think also what it does too is that because if persons are frustrated, they tend to take out the frustration on staff there as well, you know. So yeah.
So when you use technology, so you have time saving considerably. You will have, of course, increased efficiency and accuracy, because we know that you don't have to go to the manual and somebody writes something wrong, you know, those kind of things like that. And also the increased flexibility. Now you and I can satisfy our tax obligation. You get up at midnight and you can't sleep and you go, oh, maybe go find my return.
Oh, really, Mr. Pompey, really? And that's how income tax ain't crossing my mind, but anyhow.
Well, I guess if you find spare time around, and of course the reduction in expenses. I did mention, about the issue of the refund in terms of how we change it. Now we pay about 5,000 refunds per year on average, and as I mentioned, that would be 5,000 envelopes. And that would be 10,000 legal size sheets. And don't talk about the toner and the printing and putting them together and getting all of the human resources to take them and distribute them. Then the post office have to take them and do their thing also. So you can see, once that is eliminated, the savings there are to the department and of course to the government. In terms of not having to purchase all of these.
And if we're talking about being environmentally conscious and friendly as well, you're reducing paper usage as well.
Reducing paper usage. And so that's where we are. Very soon we are going to be launching electronic receipt also. So right now we are still, unfortunately, my apologies, using the receipt books where you write in. And of course, in my assessment, I think writing the receipt also takes up to about 1/3 of the transaction at the cashier. Once that is eliminated also, it means that our lines are going to be much faster. That the system will generate a receipt, or you can opt to have it emailed to you electronically. That's where we are going. So that, we cut out the paper altogether. And of course, all this is interim to some extent, because we are now working and have signed a contract for a brand new tax system. So by late 2026 or so, we should be putting in place a brand new tax system that would replace the current tax system that we have had for close to 30 years now. And if you have a software using for 30 years, it's kind of outdated. And so this new system would even further allow taxpayers to do things, at their own time. Let's take motor vehicle for an instance. Once we have the new system, you want to pay your motor vehicle license. What you would do, you would go on, you would log into the portal, and once you have paid your insurance, that information will be available to the department. And once you have done your inspection, so we essentially
it's integrated.
we would have interface with the inspection authorities and also with the insurance companies. So once you have satisfied those two requirements, you click online, and of course your insurance is paid, your inspection is done, and you proceed, you make the payment, and you pass by and collect your sticker at your pleasure.
This is interesting, Dianna.
That's where we're going.
I'm there thinking about the people who get through a certain loopholes. Well, not catch everybody. Now you're going to catch everybody.
I know you think so. And same with the driver's license. You go online, you see the late last year you paid, and you pay up to date, and you pass by. Once you pay, we print your card, and you have it there, and done with the lines. As I said, we're declaring a war on lines. Lines are unproductive. The less time you spend in line, the more time you have for productive activity and for leisure and pleasure activities. And so we want persons to basically take back their life in terms of getting away from standing in line.
And it would encourage persons, I suppose, as well, to be more enthusiastic about, nobody likes to pay taxes, I'm being very honest here, but the thing of it, that be a bit more enthusiastic in terms of it making the process a lot simpler, a lot easier. So you don't look at it as this daunting thing anymore. You kind of suck your teeth before you have to do what you have to do in terms of going to inland revenue, so yes.
That is so true. But, generally the majority of persons are tax compliant.
Yes, we have to be.
The majority of persons, they do honor businesses, they do honor their tax obligation. I think, and especially employees who are in effect captive, taxpayers because your POI is deducted even before you get it. I think if we have an area or sector that we need to, and we have been doing more work on, is that of the self-employed persons, the professionals, the unincorporated businesses, small
Speaking
traders,
directly to me.
things like that. Because we find that our level of compliance from this sector, self-employed persons, professionals, and the small traders, is not what it should be. And as I speak, we are putting together certain, measures to effect a high level of compliance in this area. What's been happening was, a lot of persons, let's take an electrician, come to your home to do work, they work here, they work there. There's no receipt given in a lot of cases. We just pay by cash. And so sometimes these persons kind of stay under the radar in terms of the tax department being able to identify them. But we are much more now into using, I think, third-party information, data, and to make an assessment, to look at someone's lifestyle, acquisition of assets, and to make that determination that you must have gotten this from some source. If your grandfather died and leave the money for you, then fine, you can show. But if not, the tax department can assess you. And you have to essentially, okay, no, this is not from business income. I was home sleeping all the time. I don't work. I don't own income. So we will be doing much more of that in terms of looking at self-employed and professional persons, because we are not satisfied with at this point with the level of compliance.
Noted. All right, so we have a question here. So somebody says, good morning. I want to ask if they have a computer station at the office for ones who don't have a computer at home.
I was going to ask something to that effect. Yeah.
Yes, very, very good question. We have, I think at this point, close to 12 system computers made available this year for taxpayers, because we recognize and appreciate that it is new and persons may need assistance. But we do not expect that going forward, once we have taught you this year, that next year you're going to come again and say, look, help me to fill up my return.
Right.
Because in most other jurisdictions, this is something that is done by the private sector and so forth. So yes, we are very much into taxpayer assistance, and persons who need assistance, they can come to the department, and we have the resources there available to assist them. But at the same time, we are asking persons to save, because the system, once you register, it is sending back your email, your password, and username to your email address. And so you have that in your phone. I think persons now have to say, okay, where do I archive this to ensure that I can retrieve it on an annual basis? Because we know sometimes it's a password you're probably going to use just once
a year, right?
So you have to make sure. I think one of the challenges, not so much a challenge, but hurdle, is the number of persons who do not have an email address, an active email address.
Is older folks?
You would be surprised.
Oh, okay.
You would be surprised. And I'll be making a point, and I've heard, I think, from some sectors, look, Mr. Pompey, there are some persons who they don't have email address and they're unable to create an email address, things like that. And I've been saying, no, I think this is a digital age, and I think we all can get online in terms of being part of the digital sphere. And so I think we need a program throughout the nation where we can, I think all as announcers and really personalities can assist in that regards, to help persons to get online, to create email addresses, to help to maneuver in cyberspace, because that is where we live also. Because we all have a physical presence now, and we have a digital presence. And I believe, and I've heard persons say, no, we need some manual return because there's some persons who cannot. And I'm saying, no, all they need is some assistance in terms of someone to help them to create an email address show them how to get online, and they can then use this email address to access so many other benefits online.
I think there are many persons out there who have this fear of doing anything that involves money online. Because they're thinking of, persons hacking into this or that or scamming or, like my fellow co-host at one point wants to see physical receipts. So, that's the other thing. I think persons need to know that there is a bit of comfort. There is convenience as well. And, you have to move from what it is that we know of the past. So
that is so true. And we've been doing our part because we've been helping persons to create, but we're thinking that there's a role for Ministry of Education, adult education, for the media in terms of showing and encouraging persons to get online, because you want to travel anywhere now. It's an electronic ED form. You have to be scanning. As a matter of fact, if you get on a plane to get anywhere now, you need an email address because it is so interrelated in terms of digital technology and traveling. You want to go online, and there's so much opportunities available also online. So persons should, I think, take the opportunity to create an email address. And I want to encourage persons out there, even though you're not filing for tax, but you don't have an email address and you don't know how, get somebody to assist you, ask them what's an email address and the benefits of it, and let's all get online. Because I think it is highly beneficial to the country and to the citizens if we do so.
Yeah, and it's interesting because persons are on social media, they're on Facebook and this and that. You have to have an email address to sign up for these things, so they have an email address. All right, so before we continue, just some things to note here on the live. So someone is saying, congratulations to the Inland Revenue team for embracing technology. I prove intentions will embrace this opportunity, and let's move forward with an effective tax system. So another person was saying, yes, it's very convenient because I can file online and make payments from the comfort of my home. And someone else is also saying, let's embrace this, my people, we move. So just some thoughts there.
Yeah, good. Excellent. Thanks for those corrections.
All right, so I think that brings us to the end of the interview. I'm not sure I believe you covered everything. I'm not sure if you left out anything that you'd.
But I just want to remind persons again that the end of March, because we have been pushing digital technology this month, part of the message that we normally would send in terms of, look, end of March is the due date for estimated taxes, for companies to file tax returns, and for all employees and self-employed persons to file. And so come Friday, Monday, which is the last working day, I think it's going to be very, very, very busy.
All right, that's next Monday. All right.
At the department. Also, we have persons, motor vehicle last digit 3, persons with birthdays in March or who have not yet paid for the year or for years before. I remind you here that you're to come in and to make payments. Persons with liquor license is also due to pay for the second quarter. So March has traditionally and historically been the busy period for the tax department. And we do take the opportunity at the same time to educate persons, because we recognize that taxation being what it is, persons need to be coached and reminded and informed and to comply.
And I suppose to know the benefits of filing taxes as well too, because that might be another thing for many persons. I know this has nothing to do with you directly, but
no, we persons have their various views, but at the end of the day, we are a small island developing state, and we rely heavily on taxation to fund ourselves. There's no getting away from it. And so internal revenue mobilization, which is tax, is critical to our development. And so most persons, I think, are seeing that and are recognizing the fact that they need to pay their taxes. Before I go, I want to make an appeal to property owners. That if you're living in a house, a building, or operating a structure, property taxes are due. Someone has to pay that property tax. And if it's not you, you need to find out. Our compliance rate for property tax is just below 55%, which saying that, look, close to 45% of the taxes we should get from property taxes, we are not collecting. And it means that persons have not been paying their property taxes. And the statistics are showing such. And I want to strongly encourage persons who have not been paying their property taxes, whose properties are not on the tax roll, to call at the department and to make payments. I think we have been looking at the legislation, we have been looking at our administrative arrangements and procedures, and working along with the relevant authorities, and all that towards taking decisive actions against defaulters of property taxes, because we are not comfortable with the level of non-compliance in this tax type.
All right, so question, right? Is there like a payment plan at the office? Because let's say you decide that you don't want to pay, but you can't pay everything up front. I know it's to have a conversation, but sometimes, to make the process easy for some folks.
No, you're quite right. Important question. We do accommodate for all tax types.
Mm-hmm.
You can have payment plan, but not for the motor vehicle drivers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But things like property tax, you owe in PAYE, corporation taxes. Yes, you can come in. We have collection officers who essentially are assigned to different cases, and they would sit with you and make a payment agreement. You would sign off on the form that, okay, I can pay $500 a month, whatever, $200 a month. And once you stick to that, we'll work with you. And of course, if you owe significant, amount back years far back, we are also willing to work with you on some interest and penalty, waiver.
Okay.
In terms of, so we do try our best to get persons to become compliant.
So Inland Revenue is our friends. You are our friends.
We are a nice, friendly, working group of persons who have your best interests at heart. And that is why, again, we are looking at ways and means in which we can make taxation less taxing. And follow us, I think over the next months and years, we are going to see significant changes in the department in the way we do things, because we are a department, I think, committed to doing things right. We make our mistakes and we have our weaknesses, but we try not to make the same mistake twice. And I think we are growing and improving what we do and how we do things. And so taxpayers who have any problems, who need to work out payment plans, who are afraid of us, I'm encouraging you to come in, because it's always better, really study. And when someone comes in and says, okay, I'm owing, way more, then we have to come and get you. And with computerization and digital, technology, liabilities don't go away.
Mm-hmm.
They stay there.
We could put them in the background for a while.
And some encouraging persons, to honor their tax obligations, to remember that, again, it is March. Most likely, before the end of this week, we will announce some extension. Given the delays we have had in terms of filing for employees, we would be announcing some extension into April somewhere, for the deadline for filing for employees' returns. So persons who have been asking that question, I can say yes in principle here that there would be some extension.
All right, then. And I think that is all the information that we needed. Well, at least for right now, from the Inland Revenue Department. We were speaking this morning with Mr. Kelvin Pompey, who is the Comptroller of the Inland Revenue Department, speaking about the launch of the e-tax filing system. And now is a good time to, get acquainted with that. Thank you, Mr. Pompey, for being here today. I believe you covered every topic. One thing I just want to ask you to just repeat the website for those who may not have gotten it before, just to repeat.
Okay, the website.
Oh,
Let's use this.
no problem.
Oh.
etax.gov.vc.
Okay.
That is etax.gov.vc.
All right.
That's the website.
And
once you get there, you can get to our website, you can get to the e-filing platform, and of course, that's more or less the portal for all our e-services.
all right then.
All right.
So
let's ditch the line
and click online. Right.
Click online. All right, thank you all. It's really been good. Talking to you all. I do spend most of my mornings driving and listening to Dianna and Roleza.
Wonderful.
And I think you all do bring a good package and a good moderate package on the mornings. Sometimes I listen, other stations, and you get all worked up. But I think Dianna and Roleza. They make you feel calm.
Oh, thank you.
We're playing violins now.
So congrats to both of you. I think you're doing a good job on the morning show.
Thank you
so
very much, Mr. Paul.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
All the best. Take care.